I was very depressed and I was going through some stuff. Mm-hmm. And the more I evolved and the more I got rid of a lot of the dysfunction that I grew up in, I was able to make space.
Today we've got Yvonne J Douglas on the show, and we are excited to have her because she's such an inspirational person. It's unbelievable. Her journey has been one of such credit. You really must listen to her story. Yvonne is known as a Starseed Alkhemist, a powerful sidekick, a Shamanic Practitioner, High Priestess, and a Sacred Celebrant. Yvonne is an award-winning counselor and a coach, as well as an established author and inspirational speaker. Well, welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you. Thank you. Who is that person that you've just introduced?
It's been great that I know Yvonne, and I've known her for about 12 years, to see you go through your journey. And I'm really blessed to say you're a very good friend of mine.
Thank you. Likewise, Anita. Thanks for having me on your show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And here we have Yvonne's books, Hungry for Love. I thoroughly enjoyed reading that. It really gave me an insight into your life. And your latest book is Journey of a Starseed.
Yeah.
And that's actually a very powerful book. I mean, it got me thinking, being brought up as a Jehovah's Witness to where you are today, I mean, how did that journey take place? Please do share.
That's a big question, isn't it? So I guess you've got the first edition of Hungry for Love, actually, because the second edition has a different cover. So it's nice to see that cover because I don't see it that often, although I've got one on my bookshelf. Yay. That was me as a little girl. Well, I didn't have that much long hair, but anyway. But yes, so how did that journey start? So, I was a Jehovah's Witness, and but I found that I was constantly depressed and couldn't find out why. It just kept happening, even as a teenager, very depressed. So along my journey, I tried to learn different things and rediscover myself. And I'm going to kind of cut it short because we don't have that much time, really, do we? I would say get the book if you want to know.
Yeah.
But basically, I went through some counselling because I was very depressed and I was going through some stuff. Mm-hmm. And the more I evolved and the more I got rid of a lot of the dysfunction that I grew up in, I was able to make space for my soul to really expand. Oh. Yes, and that's what happens, and that's the beauty of doing what I call the shadow work, which a lot of people tend to shy away from. Yes. And then it all unfolded, and I started to recognize and embrace and see my psychic abilities, and went on this journey of spiritual discovery and really waking up to my soul and my spirit and remembering who I am, because that's what I say to my clients. It's about remembering who you are. And so that's the short version of how I got from there to there. And I guess in this interview, we're going to kind of go in a bit in depth in some of the areas, but that's how it happened. And it's been an amazing, phenomenal journey, something like out of this world, really. And I do talk about a lot of that bit, the out of this world stuff in Journey of a Starseed. So
So tell me a bit more out of this world journey as a starseed. What does that entail for our listeners, and the audience that don't know?
So as our soul starts to expand, and as we know, or many people may or may not know, but especially since 2020, humanity is going through some stuff. And we are actually, these times are actually foretold and also meant to happen, because the planetary alignments, the way they are moving, it means that we are moving into a different paradigm. We've moved into the age of Aquarius, We've been in the age of Pisces, but now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is all about love and spirituality and our hearts expanding. And so, but in order for a lot of us to get to that point, we have to actually really shed a lot of the dysfunction, the human condition, the abuse, the neglect, all that negative stuff. We are having to release it. And so many people may find that since 2020, a lot of their stuff may be coming up. And when I say stuff, I mean all their painful stuff, you know, what they may have been through in the past. And so it is the time for that to happen. And I've been on this self-discovery journey since I was 27. I'm now 53. 27 was when I first went into therapy. And so I've sort of been, I guess, preparing the way, doing my own healing, and also preparing the way to help others on their journey, because my natural gift is as a healer, and I'm really privileged and honored that I managed to find my soul's purpose during this journey, and this is why I do what I do now, because I never used to do that before. I used to work in corporate and banking industries before I became this person.
Wow, that's a big difference from corporate to spiritual. You know, that's excellent.
It really is. Yeah.
One of my I have taken from the books, I mean, as you know, I've been sexually abused as well, and you write about your abuse in the book. So what can we learn from people that don't want to get healed about their abuse? Because we all know we have to get healed. So what's one thing you find with people that come to you about abuse?
So some people come to me and they're very much aware of their abuse, and they've decided they actually want to do something about it now. Because the thing about sexual abuse is that it can really perpetuate it within the family. Oftentimes you find it's a familial thing where maybe your mother was abused, your grandmother was abused, and it just goes on and on. And until you take that responsibility to try and break the cycle, it's going to just keep perpetuating, because if you don't heal from it, you can't see it happening in front of you, literally. And you will end up attracting abusers, and these abusers may come into your family and just, you know, keep it going. So, and the thing about sexual abuse is that it brings about so many different symptoms. You can end up with food addiction, which was one of the things that I ended up with, was food addiction. You can end up with drug addiction, alcoholism, workaholism, low self-esteem, people-pleasing, codependency. You end up with maybe narcissistic partners, or you know, all of those things can be as a result of being sexually abused. So if people who are listening are realizing that they are going through any of those things and they have been sexually abused, then it's like, how much longer do you want to keep living in that way? That's not really living, that's just trying to survive. And so going through the healing process, it is an amazing thing, because I remember I used to just feel like I had this dark cloud around me all the time. And now that cloud is gone. It's been gone for ages. And it's kind of like hard to describe the beauty and the joy in healing from sexual abuse. So some people who come to me, they're very well aware of it and they want to now do something about it. Then there's other people who are having certain symptoms, but they're not actually aware that they were sexually abused. Because the brain is a very, very special thing in that it can protect you. So when someone has been traumatized in that way, it's so much that sometimes the brain just shuts down, and sometimes parts of our soul or essences of our soul fractures off because it's too much to deal with. And then that means you can't actually remember it, but it's parked somewhere in your limbic system. And that plays out in your life, although you may not cognitively remember it. And sometimes also the body remembers trauma. So you may have aches and pains, you may develop certain diseases, We know that disease is the last manifestation of things that aren't dealt with on a psychological or emotional or spiritual level. So they come to me because something's not right. And then after lots of exploration and healing, they then start to remember that they were sexually abused. And this is what we call recovered memory. And it can be very scary because some people think, that didn't happen. But why they may even dream it. And they also, dreams are they're messages from the soul. So then it's about, okay, now going through that acceptance phase and getting rid of the anger and any guilt or any shame. Shame is a big energy that people carry, you know. And when you carry shame, it's very important to talk about it, because that's how you lessen its effects on you. So some people are very scared when they realize that they have been sexually abused, because it could have been by a loved one, maybe even their own father, you know, and there's so much shame around that. And so I work with my clients to get to a space of great healing and growing in their own self-love and self-worth.
Oh, that was great explanation. Definitely, this is why I'm doing Create the Courage to be Fearless. Because I know in our Asian community, the culture, there is a lot of abuse still today. You know, it needs to be stopped. They need to put a stop to it. And the thing is, the Indians do, the Asian culture, brush everything under the carpet. I mean, I myself have had years of therapy, and, you know, I've dealt with things. And it's very important. And if you don't, you will carry it with you. So,
absolutely.
It's really known in the Asian community. So, they should get help, and they're too ashamed to get help. And this is why I think, you know, the shame has a big part. And you need to speak about things. I'm going to talk about things in Create the Courage to be Fearless show that most people will perhaps brush under the carpet. Needs to be heard. It really does.
It really does, Anita. I so agree with you on that, because even in the even within the West Indian community, the African communities, they brush it under the carpet. Even I think in the European communities, they brush it under the carpet. Because of the shame. And more often than not, people who have been sexually abused have been told by the abuser, don't tell anyone, because they blackmail you if you tell anyone, because you're a child, don't forget, children listen to adults, and they tell you, if you tell anyone, this will happen, that will happen, which is a whole lie, because it's then getting you to keep your mouth shut, and then they can carry on with their dirtiness. So this is the thing. The shame that you carry if you've been abused is not your shame. It is the shame of your abuser that they've put onto you, and you're carrying that around. And so by speaking about it, you give them back their shame and release it from you. So I would say to people, please, please, please don't carry this anymore. Because if you notice in the world today, we're seeing so much in the news, not that I watch the news, but I know it's happening around the globe, where the paedophilia rings, the sexual abuse and that is really coming up in the open, because this is the time where humanity, the collective consciousness, the whole of our stuff is coming up. And sexual abuse is one of them. And I actually feel that the statistics are less than what is the true figure of how many people have been abused on this planet. I really feel that it's been like a spiritual warfare against humanity that has been used. It's like a spiritual weapon that has been used against humanity. And the thing is that it's not just women. There's a lot of men that have been sexually abused as well. And the healing for it is so necessary for humanity to rise up into this new paradigm and to ascend, and for our hearts to open, because that's one of the things as well. When you've been sexually abused, you struggle to trust, your heart closed down, and then you're not living to your fullest. You're not connecting with yourself and with others properly. So it's a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, like you say with statistics, people don't want people to know. And how many times have we saved someone by not speaking up?
And they can carry on.
Absolutely. And this is where it's got to stop.
Yeah.
You know, it's about time we speak up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
it is time.
Just to touch on, like, I know myself, it's important to heal, but for the listeners, the audience listening, why is it so important to heal? And that could be about anything, really. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things. It's not just about abuse. There's a lot of things we all need to heal from. Broken relationships, you know, why we don't get on with parents, siblings, and we go on to continue those traits unless we heal it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why
and that's
is
why
it
it's
so
important to
important?
heal. This is why it's important to heal, because it will just continue. And yes, it's not just sexual abuse, as you say, relationship problems, issues with our parents, living in a single parent household where daddy's not around or mother's not around, or where one of them had a mental health illness and they weren't able to give you the love and care that you needed. Lots of neglect going on, lots of parents putting down their children. Oh God, there's so much stuff to heal from. And also society, you know, the society that we've lived in, the institutions that we've grown up in. I call it the human condition. We've all come here with so many wounds to heal. And we're also looking at healing past lives as well, because we are ascending so much. So it's important to heal so that we can let go of all that negativity, so that we can become more positive, so that our bodies can be lighter, because the more we heal, we release a lot of baggage and we become lighter. We then allow our lights to shine, and it then aids the ascension process. So it's about individually and collectively humanity coming together to heal. It's a powerful time right now, and we can't be carrying that baggage anymore. No. Because humanity are evolving, and whether we like it or not, we are evolving.
Definitely. There's no two ways about it. Like you said, the last couple of years have been, there's so much change. It's unbelievable. And like I say, the people that are going to go on and heal and help themselves will go ahead to make leaps and bounds. And the others, unfortunately, will be still stuck.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's worrying times.
Yeah, it's worrying, it's challenging, but it's also exciting.
Yes, definitely.
You know, and I think people need to kind of really hang on to that word, the excitement of it, because this is a crucial time for humanity, and there are good things ahead, but we just have to go through it to get through it.
Yes.
And it's the same with the healing process. Yes. We have to go through it to get through it, and we have to feel it to release it as well.
And I think that's one of the things with so much trauma, people in a way relive it, and they don't want to when they're healing, but it's worth going through it. And, you know, there's no such thing as, you know, you can't heal unless you actually do the work.
Yeah, you have to.
I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and I've had to do the work, and as you have too, Yvonne.
Yeah. I didn't just get here like this, you know, and it just appear. It's been a process. There have been times when you've been on the floor crying, and, you know, they call it the dark night of the soul, when you just think, I can't go through this anymore. It's too much. It's never too much, and you're never alone.
And, you know, that brings us to a good point. You are never alone. There are helplines out there. There are places you can call, and they will call you back. There is so much help out there now. It's not like what it was when we were growing up. You know, there is a lot of help out there.
There's a lot of help.
Anybody listening, please do get the help you need.
Absolutely.
I know it could be hard, but you need to do that for yourself.
Definitely. Yeah.
So one of my questions is, considering you've been through quite a lot, as I know you've read your books.
Yeah.
How do you view and overcome obstacles?
So, you know, for me, I see obstacles as like a test, really, isn't it? I feel that we are, like, on Earth, we are in a school, and we're learning and growing and expanding. And so when we see an obstacle, it's like, okay, this is a test. How am I going to fare in this test? What am I going to do? Am I going to run, or am I going to recover? Am I going to face it, or am I going to run away from it? So, and basically, you just have to walk around it, jump over it, go under it, but don't allow it to block you from moving forward. Obstacles are just there to just see and test your resilience, your faith, your trust in the divine. And we can overcome any obstacle. We have to have that faith and trust. And again, we're not alone.
Yes. Never alone. Yeah.
We can get the help that we need, not just from our friends or family, our soul tribe, but also from our spirit guides as well. You know, many people need to connect more with their spirit guides, because we've all got a personal spirit guide, and then there's many others out there as well, and the divine, the angels, the goddesses. There's so many that we can connect with to help us. And many of them, I remember back in the day, someone used to say there's so many of them that are unemployed because humans are not using them.
I love it.
So yeah, get connected and know that you're never alone. You can do this. We're all in it. We're all in this together.
Definitely.
We're all in this together. And when you think about the state of humanity, it's a collective thing that we're all going through. We've all caused this in a way, because this sounds really harsh, right? But it's not meant to be harsh.
Okay.
But because we're a collective, we're connected.
Yes.
We've all created this reality.
Yes.
And now we want to create a new reality. So what are we going to do? Are we now going to start taking responsibility?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting thought, actually. Yeah.
It isn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody might call me up and say, how could you say that?
There are going to be people that are listening and find it, okay, well, how do we connect with our spiritual guides and things like that? Can you explain a little bit more about that? How would one seek help, or how can someone actually trust even? Because I know some people, they think, oh, psychics are all nonsense and this and that. I mean, how would you approach that to give some guidance to someone?
So the thing is, think about this. People may have those preconceived ideas about psychics and stuff, but actually psychics are just really people that are very connected to spirit and the divine, and allow that space. And we have what they say we only have 5 senses.
Okay.
But we actually have more than 5 senses. They don't teach us that in school. And that's the other sense, the other main sense is your intuition.
Yes.
Or your gut instinct.
Yeah.
And that's how you start to connect. Really trust that, because you have it. Everybody has it, not just psychics. Everybody has it. If you have a soul, you have an intuition, and that's your higher self guiding you. Okay. And meditation to connect to your higher self, that it will be the first step in really trying to connect. And then you can take it from there and maybe get some guidance from someone like myself and other people out there. There's so much resources on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And it's very important. This is the thing now. It's very important to heal your traumas, because more often than not, when you've got a lot of traumas, you're actually carrying a lot of negative energy. Okay. And so when you're carrying this negative energy, it's very easy for the negative spirits, okay, to be drawn to you. So this is why sometimes you're ending up with in addiction, because that negative entity is there around you. Maybe sometimes some people actually have them within them.
Yeah.
And again, this is another thing that I do, where I help extract them from people. So this is why it's so important to do the work, so that your energy is clear and cleansed and positive, so that you do then welcome in and attract the light beings, the positive ones, the ones that are from the love. So whenever you're connecting, and if you maybe are psychic and you're not sure, but you feel like, yeah, I do hear voices sometimes, or yeah, I do see things, always check in and say, are you from the light?
Okay.
Are you from love? Are you of love, and are you from the light? And listen and sense what they're saying, because they can't lie. This is one thing about spirit they cannot lie. And so if you say, do you believe in God?
Mm-hmm.
They will say yes, whether they're negative or positive, or,
Yes.
you know, I like to kind of define them that way, because they do believe in a God. But if you say, are you from love and from light, they can't lie. And if they aren't, they will get lost. So that is one way to make sure that you are, you know, dealing with the ones that are from love and light.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, welcome.
You talk about addiction. I know you had food addictions and you ended up in rehab. Tell me more about that time.
Wow. See, I had before this, I had gone through like 7 years of therapy, and it was very deep psychodynamic therapy, and it helped with a lot of stuff. But I was still getting depressed. And so not as often as before, but there was still some stuff going on for me. So I went to see a doctor, but it was a private doctor.
Okay.
And they said, we need to find out why you keep getting depressed. And so they then referred me to a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And then he referred me to a therapist, but this was an addiction therapist. And the therapist said to me, I think you need to go to rehab. I says, but I ain't a drug addict. I was getting all, you know. And he says, well, I wouldn't suggest it if you didn't need it. You need to go in because your drug of choice is food. And I'd always struggled with weight. And so went to rehab, and my meals were plated. So I wasn't allowed to choose my meals. They gave me set meals because mine was food. And my meals did not have any sugar products or white flour products. So that would include things like mayonnaise, ketchup.
Yes.
Yeah, because they got sugar in them.
Yes.
And after 3 days, Anita, I kid you not, I was crying and remembering some of my recovered memory came back around my stepdad sexually abusing me, because all I remembered of my stepdad was that he emotionally abused me.
Okay.
And one of his friends had sexually abused me as a youngster. But then in rehab, because my drug of choice had been taken away from me, the feelings, the memories all started to come back up. And then my stepdad, it turned out that he had sexually abused me before I could speak. So under the age of 1. And I started working through that program. And ever since then, just been dealing with, you know, releasing all of the stuff. Because when you think about it, between ages 1 to 5 are your developmental years.
Yes.
And that's where you form your beliefs about the world and people. So to be sexually abused at such a young age would have really messed me up.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like you say, it's a drug of choice. And you'd be surprised how many people are addicted to sugar. I mean, it's constantly in the media right now. Away from it, it gives you clarity. So I can totally understand that. It
does give you a lot of clarity. And I think the way the system is set up is that the way they put sugar in so many things, they are drugging us to keep us quiet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because food, you know, yes, people can, drugs and alcohol, they're more kind of like, oh, okay, you know, but food, you don't think about food as like an addiction and as a bad thing. You don't really, you know? So, yeah, it was a very powerful experience and time of my life, but it was very phenomenal in terms of how it shifted me. And I lost a lot of weight when I came out of rehab as well. And, you know, throughout years, I've kind of gone up and down, you know, but it is so much better than what it used to be. It's So being very mindful of what you're suppressing via addictions. And it may not be food for you. It may be alcohol. It may be even work.
Yes. It's an amazing concept that will turn to something, like you say. It doesn't have to be drugs. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be anything. Do people actually realize sugar is an addiction?
Mm.
So it's, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So now, right, moving forward to where you are now, how does it feel to be free from everything? A loaded question for sure.
Girl, I tell you. I feel I'm tearing up right now.
Bless.
I really am. Because when I think about the person that I used to be and how I used to carry myself, I lacked self-esteem. I'm a time traveler. So when I think about that, it's like I'm going back there. And so this is why I'm sort of feeling a bit teared up as well.
Okay.
Because I feel so sorry for that person. Oh, she needed so much love.
Bless.
And didn't have it. So I've learned to really love myself and honor myself, make sure that my needs are met. I've reparented myself where my parents weren't able to do that for me, and I feel like I'm actually a goddess.
Definitely.
I own it and I walk in that path of being a goddess because we are all gods and goddesses. Many people have just forgotten who they are because those traumas keep you trapped in that space of forgetting who you are. We are limitless, phenomenal creators. We are manifestations of the divine. And that's how I view myself. And it's an amazing feeling.
Definitely.
It really, really is. And that's what I want for all of humanity.
Yeah, definitely. And why wouldn't we want that? Here's the thing. Yeah.
And all I can say is that whatever you went through, beloved, okay, it's not going to be half as bad when you actually just deal with it.
Yes.
You've already done the hard stuff. You've already done. You've gone through it.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
And then that's why your book's called Hungry for Love.
Yeah.
That's really great to play on words as well.
Absolutely. And that is the thing. I forgot that I was a being of love, didn't receive love, didn't know how to love, didn't know how to receive it and give it in a healthy way, because everybody has a different concept of love.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And so developing healthy love and unconditional love for yourself, that is magic.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely. And there's a bit of a fun side to you, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, there is. I know that. But you like stand-up comedy?
Stand-up comedy before. I did it for a little while and I enjoyed it for a time. But you know what, though, Anita? One of the things that I learnt to do as a child was to laugh at myself, make other people laugh.
Yes.
And it kind of, it protected me in some way. And it was also my mechanism to not feel my pain. And when I was in rehab, they challenged me on that. And I realized, oh yeah, I do that, don't I? I joke in order to avoid the pain. So I'm very wary of when I do that nowadays. I've been very aware of that for a while now. Not to mask the pain with comedy, but generally, yes, I do like to have a laugh and have fun, and I do make people laugh sometimes. And sometimes I say things and people just laugh, and I'm like, it wasn't meant to be funny, but people find it funny anyway. But yeah, I do. I think laughter is a beautiful thing that we have the privilege of being able to express. And yeah, it's good because that also raises your vibration, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah. So, where can the audience get your books and find you online? And what is your website?
Okay, so people can get my books from Amazon if they wish, or if they would love a signed copy with a personal message. I always check in with Spirit to see what little message people need. You got your message there?
Both signed copies.
Yep.
Proud to say.
Nice. Yeah. Brilliant. So yes, if they want a signed copy, they can get them from my website. I only post out into the UK though, so just in case this is global.
Yes.
Which I'm sure it will go global, Anita, because you're doing fabulous stuff.
Thank you.
But yeah, I post out in the UK signed copy. Otherwise, it's on Amazon. And my website is www.yvonneJdouglas.com. And my social media handles are all the same, or the Starseed Alkhemist. That might be easy to remember. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, people can find me. And yeah, that's where I am. And if they need any guidance, yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And one thing I'd like to say to you is thank you for being here. You've shared such insightful wisdom and knowledge, and for doing the work on yourself first, the bigger picture, make a difference for the world. I'd really like to acknowledge you for that, Yvonne. You've done so well.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you. Do you know, it's my purpose, and this is the thing as well. When you actually find your purpose, life seems a little bit more easy. It's quite effortless, and things just start to happen. The universe starts to conspire for your highest good when you're actually living on purpose. And all of the things that I went through, I used to say, why me? Why me? And one of my mentors said, why not you?
Oh, okay.
And when I looked at it like that, I thought, okay. And now I look back, I realized I had to go through those things in order to be the person that I am today and to do the work that I've come here for. It all makes sense. So yes, why not me?
Why do you think it's important to follow your purpose?
Because that's when you're going to really feel fulfilled. You're going to feel like my life has meaning. Okay. It has true meaning. I'm not just a cog in the wheel. I'm not just here to be a slave to the system, but I've come here for a reason, and I'm gonna do that to my fullest. And it feels fantastic. You know, the work that I do, I don't see it as work.
That's really great. And I've got a couple of last questions for you, Yvonne.
Yes.
Now, I know you've been through so many things, so to pick one would possibly be hard, but what's one of the most courageous things you've had to do?
One of the most courageous things I had to do, I do feel, is leave the religion that I was kind of born into. I wasn't born into it. I was about 4 when my mum became a Jehovah's Witness. Okay. And I feel that I say this one simply because I think many people feel duty bound to do things that feel cultural, traditional, or religious or whatever, and they feel that they have to stay in it because family, this, that, and the other. So for me, when I left my religion, it was really hard because it meant I lost a lot of family members, because Jehovah's Witnesses are very strange. When you leave that religion, you know, you're kind of ousted, you're looked at as an outsider, and they don't really want to have anything to do with you. And even more so, they didn't want anything to do with me because I became very spiritual, and the psychic stuff, they don't agree with all of that. And so they think I'm a devil worshipper. Please. Yeah. How can this much light come out of a devil? But yes, so that for me was one of the most courageous things that I've done, because it meant that I had to really detach and with love from family, but they detached from me anyway. I mean, I would have still wanted to be in a relationship with them, but they weren't having it. So it was really painful, especially around my mum. It was, so that for me was very courageous, but I had to do what felt right for me, because I'm not here for anybody else but myself.
Yeah, definitely. And that's such a story, actually, because like you just summed up, you're here for yourself, not anybody else. It's taken me a long time to realize that, and that's why I started to get my message out there. I have lost people along, you know, like they say, well, there couldn't have been your people in the first place. Hey, Yvonne.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel that we do place a lot of emphasis on family and blood ties.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, Some families are really blessed that they're very close. They don't judge each other. They love each other unconditionally. But not all families are like that. And my family certainly aren't like that. It's very much conditional love. And that is not the love of the divine at all. So to be able to just move away from that, it is really hard. But it's very much worth it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I am very blessed to have unconditional love from my family. So, you know, I feel blessed every day because I know everyone doesn't get that.
And so, and when you do have the courage to do that, you then make space to meet your soul tribe.
Yes.
And I feel like the ties of your soul tribe are a lot stronger because they do love you unconditionally.
So my final question, Yvonne, as we are talking about courage, and the whole show is called Create the Courage to be Fearless, what is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is, I suppose it's like feeling the fear and doing it anyway, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just do it. Don't sit in it. Don't procrastinate. Be courageous. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your truth. Be you authentically. That's being courageous. Being authentically you. Sorry, there's lots of definitions in there, isn't there? Sorry.
No, carry on. They all good. They're all good.
But that's what being courageous is all about. Being you unapologetically.
Yeah, definitely.
Shining your light unapologetically. Be courageous. It's time. We are needed. We need to be doing this. This is the time for humanity to rise up. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Yvonne J Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we finished already?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
We'll have to have you on again because I know there's a lot more we can talk about.
Yes, I would be happy to come back on. I really would be. It's been a joy. And I hope your listeners really have benefited from this podcast today. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to just share my story. It's been lovely.
You're most welcome, Yvonne J Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you.